Hello, and welcome to another Hearts of Iron 4 modding tutorial. In this tutorial, we will introduce the starting concepts of map modding. By the end, we will have added a new state to the map and assigned it to a country. In this tutorial, we will cover the nudge tool, provinces, state history files, strategic regions, railways, and supply hubs. When map modding, it is important to ensure you have debug mode enabled by adding -debug to your game's launch options in Steam. Enabling debug mode will allow you to access the nudge tool, which is an important part of map modding. With debug mode enabled, when you start the game, you will see the nudge button appear in the game's start menu. Click it to open the nudge tool. The nudge tool is made up of 9 separate subtools that are used in map modding. These can be selected from the list in the top right corner of the screen. They are states for creating and editing states, supply areas. As of No Step Back, this tool is obsolete and can be ignored. Strategic regions for creating and editing strategic regions. Ambient objects, which are not used in Hearts of Iron 4. Database for editing provinces. Weather for editing the weather in strategic regions. Buildings for editing the positions of buildings on the map. Units for editing the position of units and victory points on the map. And supply for editing railways and supply hubs. It is important to note that everything that the nudge tool does can be done by hand in the mod files. The nudge tool provides an interface that edits these files for you. Files edited by the nudge tool will not be saved in your mod files. Instead, they will be saved in subfolders in your Documents/Paradox Interactive/Hearts of Iron 4 folder. You will need to move these folders from that folder and into your mod's root directory to ensure your files are used in your mod. If you do not move these files, they will corrupt your vanilla game and other mods. The nudge tool can also make mistakes. Most commonly, this involves adding provinces to multiple states or strategic regions. In these cases, the files can only be fixed by hand. While it will not be covered in this tutorial, third-party tools such as the Hearts of Iron 4 Mod Utilities extension for Visual Studio Code can also be useful in map modding. Making a state with the nudge tool. To use the nudge tool to make a new state, open the tool and press the States button. This will show you all the states on the map. The state colors are determined by their state category. We will discuss this later. As all provinces are currently part of a state, we will need to remove provinces from existing states before adding them to a new state. Select a province in a state you wish to remove provinces from. Then hold down Shift, then select the provinces you wish to remove from that state. Before we add these provinces to a new state, we need to save these changes. This is to minimize the risk of errors such as provinces being added to multiple states. In the box in the bottom right-hand corner of the screen, press the Save button. Once saved, the map will look as if it reverted your changes. This is because the files are not saved to your mod folder. We need to move these before continuing. Navigate to your Documents/Paradox Interactive/Hearts of Iron 4 folder. Now we are going to look for folders that have been added by the nudge tool. These folders are the history, localization, and map folders. If you open these folders, you will see that in the history folder, it contains a subfolder for states, in which are the states we have edited. In this example, we have states 123 Cornwall and 338 Gloucestershire. The localization folder contains the state names L English YML file. This is a copy of the file from the vanilla Hearts of Iron 4 directory, unless you have it already in the mod's localization folder. In this case, we will use your mod's version. Finally, under the map folder, we have a strategic regions folder which contains the strategic region that contains the states that we have edited. You need to move these folders into your mod's root directory. If you are prompted to replace files in the destination, press Yes. Then, return to the game and in the nudge tool on the States mode, press the Update button in the bottom right box. You will now see that the map looks as we expect it to. To add a new state, select a province you want to add to the state. Then hold the Shift key and select additional provinces. Then, in the box in the bottom right corner, give your state a name. In this example, My First State. Then press the Create State button. Now press the Save button, and then return to your Documents/Paradox Interactive/Hearts of Iron 4 folder. Notice, this time we have the history and localization folders, but there is no map folder. This is because we removed provinces from a state, but we also removed them from their strategic region. Now, we need to tell the game that our new state is part of a strategic region. First, move the history and localization folders into our mod's root directory. Press yes if prompted to replace files. Then, return to the nudge tool and press the update button. To add our new state to a strategic region, first click the Update Strategic Region button in the top right. Next, select a strategic region by clicking on a map to get the box in the bottom right corner to appear. Now press the Update button next to the Open File button to ensure that the game is up to date with our changes. As you can see, there is a gap in the strategic region where our new state is. Editing or adding strategic regions work in the exact same way as states. Only in this case, a strategic region contains entire states or sea provinces. To add our new state to the strategic region, select a state that is already in the strategic region we want to add our state to, then while holding down the Shift key, click on our new state. This has added the state to the strategic region. Finally, press the Save button, then navigate back to your Documents/Paradox Interactive/Hearts of Iron 4 folder. You can see now we have a map and localization folder here. The localization folder contains our strategic region localization file. Meanwhile, the map folder contains the strategic region we just edited. Move both folders to your mod's root directory and press yes if prompted to replace files. Then return to the nudge tool and press the update button. Finally, we need to generate building positions in our new state, as well as fixing the building positions in our old state. This includes things such as the locations of ports, bunkers, and air bases. Select the Buildings option in the Nudge tool, then zoom into our state. As you can see, the state adjacent to our new state has buildings such as bunkers in them, but our state is empty. The simplest way to resolve this issue is to validate the buildings in the states we have edited and added. First, select a state we have edited and press the Validate in State button. If you look carefully, you will notice that the locations of some of these buildings have moved. These were buildings required by the state that were no longer within the state's borders due to us moving provinces from that state. Next, repeat this for our new state. This will add the buildings required by the state. Alternatively, you can press the Random in State button, which will randomly move all buildings around in the state, including existing buildings. If you have made changes to many states, you can press the Validate All States button, which will validate every state in the game, including any states you have selected. Finally, press the Save button. Then return to the Documents, Paradox Interactive, Hearts of Iron 4 folder. This time, we only have to copy the Map folder. Inside the Map folder, you will see 3 files: Buildings, Air Bases, and Rocket Sites. These files contain the coordinates in-game for each building, airbase, and rocket site in each state. Once again, move this map folder to our Hearts of Iron 4 root directory. We have now successfully done all we have to do to add a new state to the game. Let's have a closer look at what the Nudge tool just did for us. First, we will look at the state history files. These can be found under the History, then States folder. Open the file for a state we edited, in this example, state 123, Cornwall. A state history file contains all the information needed to define a state in the game. This includes the state's unique ID number, the state's name, which is a reference to a localization string, the state's history, which includes its owner, the victory points in the state, and any buildings in the state, the list of provinces that make up the state's manpower, which is its population at the start of the game, and finally the state category, which defines how many building slots the state can have. You can ignore the local supplies and buildings max level factor options for now. When we use the Nudge tool to remove provinces from this state, it will either copy and edit the state history file from the mod folder if it exists, or from the vanilla games folder. Then it will delete the provinces we removed from the state from the list of provinces. It then saved this file for us. Note that anything in the state history block will remain unchanged. If, for example, there were victory points in the state that were in provinces that were removed from the state, we would also need to remove the victory points from the history block. The same goes for any buildings that have specific map locations, such as naval bases, as we have seen in this example here. If we go and have a look at the strategic region file under Map, then Strategic Regions, we can see that it too has a list of provinces. This would have been updated in the same way as the state history file when we used the Nudge tool. Finally, we will look at the state names and strategic region names localization files. These two files are copied from the vanilla game folder or your mod folder if it exists whenever you save a state or strategic region change. These contain a list of the names of each state and strategic region in the game. If you change the name of a state or add a new state, the nudge tool will automatically update the name in this localization file, adding buildings and victory points to a state. Let's have a look at the state history file for a new state. Navigate to your state's history folder, then open the file for your new state. As you can see, the file is empty except for the state's ID, name, provinces, and manpower, which is set to 0. To make this a state that is usable in-game, we must add manpower, add a state category, add buildings, add a victory point, and add an owner and core of a nation. First, we will add the manpower by setting the number to be whatever value we want. This is the total population of the state at the game's start. Next, we will add a state category. A list of state categories can be found in the Hearts of Iron 4 Common/State Category folder or on the Hearts of Iron 4 wiki under the state modding page. In this example, we will say the state is a developed rural region with 4 building slots unlocked. This in the game's code is defined as a town. Add the line state_category equals town to our file. Next, we will add a building to our state. Create a history block. Then inside the history block, create a building block. In here, we can add buildings as defined in the Common/Buildings folder in the Hearts of Iron 4 game files or from the state modding page on the wiki. Some buildings, such as bunkers and naval bases, are placed in specific provinces. Other buildings, such as civilian factories, are built at the state level and use up a building slot. Let's add infrastructure, a civilian factory, and a military factory to the state. We do this by writing the building's name in the script, followed by equals, then a number representing the building level or how many of those buildings exist. In this example, we write infrastructure equals 3 for our infrastructure, industrial_complex equals 1 for a civilian factory, and arms_factory equals 1 for a military factory. Finally, let's add a naval base in province 3422. First, we create a block for the province ID, then within it we write naval_base equals 1 to add a single level of a naval base. Let's also add a victory point to our state. Outside the building block, but within the history block, add a victory_points block. Inside this block, we first write the province ID of the victory point, then we provide it with a value. Let's say province 3422 is worth 5 victory points. Type 3422, then add a space, then the value of the victory point, which is 5. It is important to remember that only one victory point can be defined in a victory points block. If you would like to give a unique name to the victory point, for example the name of a city, then you need to add to your localization file the localization key, victory_points_x, where x is the province ID of the victory point. For example, victory points 3422 pool for our victory point. Finally, we will add the country we made previously as the owner of the state and give it a core. In the history block, type owner equals our country's tag, MFC. Then, on a new line, add core off space equals then our tag, MFC. You can now open the game and see our new state. Adding new supply and railway. You can also use the nudge tool to add railways and supply nodes to the game. Open the nudge tool and navigate to the supply tool. This will load the data used to generate the railway network on the map, and it may take a moment to load. Once it is loaded, you can see all railways as gray lines, all ports as dark blue dots, all victory points with a value greater than 1 as cyan dots, capital cities as yellow dots, and supply hubs as pink dots. If you click on a railway, it will turn green to indicate it is selected. You can then add and remove provinces from the railway line by holding down Control, then left-clicking on a province. To add a province, click on a province adjacent to the end node of the railway line. To remove a province, click on a province that contains an end node for the railway line. To delete the railway, you can press the Delete Railway button in the bottom right corner. To increase the level of the railway, you can use the up and down buttons next to the railway's level. To add a new railway, hold down Control when you do not have a railway selected, then left-click on a province. This will create a red railway line. While holding Control, click on a province to add to the railway. Then, while holding Control, press the Add Railway button in the corner box. To add a new supply node, hold Control and select a single province. Then press the Create Node button in the corner box. To delete a node, select a province with a supply node already in it, then press the Delete Node button. Once you have made the changes you want, click the Save button. Like with editing states, the files you have just changed have been saved to the Documents/Paradox Interactive/Hearts of Iron 4 folder, then under the Map folder. These files are the Railways and Supply Nodes files. The Railways file is a list of each railway in the game written as the railway level, how many provinces are in the railway, and then the province ID for each province in the railway. It is important to note that these province IDs must be adjacent to each other on the map. The Supply Nodes file contains a list of each province ID with the supply node preceded by the number 1. Move these two files into our mod's map folder. We can then start the game and see our new railway. With this, you now know how to add states, railways, and supply nodes to the game. Thank you for watching.